I got a question for you as you come in the door, though. Do you think that Michael Jordan fans are the best?
I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I'm a LeBron James fan. I'm a fan of greats. So I can argue on every side of the coin on all of them.
But do you think that Michael Jordan fans are the best?
Are they the best?
Hello, everyone. Michael Jordan fans are the best. And today we're going to be talking about the greatest duos of all time. But first, before we get into that, let's welcome the panel. I hope you like the new live stream, the new intro for the live stream, because just trying to avoid some of the things that I've been encountering lately. But yeah, NMB Sports, how are you today?
Doing good, man. Glad to be here as always.
Steam Engine, how are you, sir?
I'm well. Do I have a audio delay at all?
No.
Excellent. All right, bear with me while I put my background together. You can move on to the next person.
Oh, thank you. I was gonna wait. I was gonna wait for you. No. AOH, how are you, sir?
Good morning. Good morning. And good morning. One more. Good morning.
Okay, I was waiting for that last one. Beautiful hair, by the way.
Woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Well, your hair came out nice. Scap Attack, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Dart. Thanks for having me. That was a hot lead-in intro there. I like that. I like the little montage on the lead-in. That's pretty strong. I thank you for choosing. I like the Kobe Jordan little duo that you picked before me. That was perfect. Hello to all of you in the chat here and everyone on the panel. Good to see everybody.
And Hoop God, how are you, sir?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, chat. Hey, Scap, I gotta salute you, man. That was surgical work. I may have to address you as Officer Alonzo Harris during this segment because that was diabolical. I tuned in the chat and I was thoroughly entertained when this guy said Kobe Bryant has 3 championship silver medals. I'm like, wow, you have no more. You just lost all your credibility with me. I mean, come on, what are we talking about? But yeah, I'm ready for this.
It was something else. I try, guys, as you know, I'm kind of like a walking stat, right? Like I'm just like I have most of these things and figures in my head. But in 3 hours of time and getting double teamed by the moderator and the guy I'm debating, I couldn't get every fact check. So I'll be fact checking probably all week some of the talking points that you're alluding to when I and Gilbert faced off. But overall, great time. Just real fast before we go, shout out to Lamont and Gil for making that happen for again like hours upon hours. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Let's get into the subject of the show. Nick, who are the greatest duo, or who is the greatest duo of all time? Since I can't word anyway.
Yeah, so I feel like there's some kind of obvious ones out there, but I'm going to go with the one that I had a lot of admiration for growing up, and that is Tim Duncan and Tony Parker. That's where I'll start. Not that they're the greatest, but that's where I want to start. I thought when I think of duos, like, you know, I don't think of like a LeBron and Wade. They're kind of just two individuals who play great ball or whatever together on the court at the same time. I'm thinking about guys who more or less kind of play together. And as much as I hated watching them beat my Mavericks all the time, it really was fun watching those guys the big fundamental, and they're not very flashy, but yet quite effective, and they got the job done. And I'll start there. I think that's a good maybe middle ground to start. I think there's some better ones out there, but I always enjoyed watching them, even though they beat my Mavericks a lot, as I said. They just always got the job done, and I think Tony Parker is really underrated as one of the better point guards that doesn't get talked about enough. Obviously, Tim Duncan goes without saying, right? So the defense as well. Both, I think Tony Parker's defense is a little underrated. He was okay on the defensive end as well. So I'm going to go a little personal, and I'm going to go that was where I want to start is with Tony Parker and Tim Duncan.
Awesome. Before we get into the next one, Cash has super chatted AOH for $19.99. He says, "Thanks, AOH. Have a beer on me."
That was before we even started. Thank you, Cash. That's very nice. That's about the price of a beer. I mean, I'll go get a liter since you gave me $20, but yeah, that'll be about right for a liter.
Yeah. All right. Steam Engine. It's the greatest
Hey,
duo
I
of all
also-
time.
Well, real quick, I also woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So, if we're just throwing money out because people are pissing and moaning, I guess that's fine.
An original Christ.
No, I want to say Shaq and Kobe to start because I know it's the lowest hanging fruit, but they were by far the most damaging duo that I had seen in my lifetime. I was born in '85, so seeing Michael and Scotty, I was a little bit younger. But seeing there really kind of be no answer for Shaq other than putting him on the line, coupled with Kobe just being this unstoppable force on both sides of the floor. I had never seen anything like that. I honestly thought they were going to outdo the Bulls. I wanted to start with them, and I also wanted to take a page out of Nick's book. I wanted to say Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki. They don't get brought up enough. I honestly feel that if the West wasn't as strong as it was back then, we'd be talking about them with the greats. So that's kind of where my head is with that as we move forward. But that's like low hanging fruit on both sides. I feel like.
Real quick, I have a little bit of a lot of people don't agree with this, but I'm actually kind of glad they separated. A lot of people think that's crazy, but I think they were able to achieve higher heights on other teams than they were possibly together. Nash really needs like a pick and roll guy going to the basket, and while Dirk was great, a pick and pop sometimes is just not the best way to go at a defense. So I'm actually in the minority a little bit. Of course, I hated it at first. I was heartbroken, but seeing how they, Nash went on to win 2 MVPs, Dirk goes on to win an MVP and a ring. I think looking back, I was actually kind of glad for both of them that they separated and they were able to accomplish what they did.
What do you think their ceiling was, Nick?
Could they have won a ring? I mean, that's possible. I think seeing how good they were, and I think they kind of hit their stride. I just think I'm not sure if they both would have hit their ceilings if they continued to play together. I mean, it's all just me presuming the unknown, but yeah, I just think they were able to kind of hit higher highs, without each other.
It's a rule that we can't be in the chat and on the show at the same time, right? That's a thing? I just need to know for clarification's sake.
Trying to support your
also,
channel, bro.
It's impressive if you can do that. I can't.
Also, shout out to the Steelers for letting me down last night.
Bombs.
So yeah, we'll enjoy another first round exit.
You're damn right you will.
Hey,
I'm
Spain.
not happy about it.
Hey, Spain, I got some bad news. Diddy's he's an avid Steelers fan.
Who?
Diddy.
I don't know who that is. I'm too close.
All right. AOH, who's the greatest duo of all time?
Hey, Speam, I'm trying to super chat you. Are you demonetized?
You have to be monetized to be demonetized.
I've super chatted you a long time ago, I think.
Another personal shot. But let's move on with the show. Go ahead.
I'm literally trying to give you money, but
I'll give you my Cash App.
PayPal, Cash App him.
Yeah. Friends and family, by the way. Friends and family. I don't want to pay taxes on
it looks better when you get a super chat from someone on your channel. Anyway, obviously the best duo was Penny and Shaq before it became a worse duo, and Shaq carried Kobe's ass. The next duo that is tied for that, it's got to be LeBron and JJ. Because two of the biggest excuse-making whiners on the same team, and magically they've both forgotten how to speak now that they're on the Lakers. It's just interesting how those two's relationship is so intricately interwoven. I will not put. I would not put Jordan and Pippen, because I don't think Pippen. The more I look back at Pippen's career and how many times he left Jordan hanging, that was a 1 person and a half duo, which
Hey, can I ask a
disqualified
quick
from
question?
being a top duo.
To that AOH, can I ask you a quick question? Do you feel like you would have still felt that way if there was all this anti-Jordan propaganda now? Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, do you think you would have felt that way?
Well, it depends if there would have been a different form of motivation for me to go back and look more closely at how good Scotty was, because Scotty really did bring a lot of this on himself, because I probably wouldn't have looked as critically back at his career. And also with the Last Dance, exaggerating some of his greatness that didn't even take place. And I was like, wow, the Last Dance was actually trying to be nice to Scotty. Sure, they included some of his bad parts, but they included a shitload of Jordan's bad parts too. It was all part of the journey of that Last Dance and the things that they went through. But they actually like the whole shutting down Magic thing in the 91 finals. That didn't happen. Like 3 plays Scotty was on Magic. The rest of the time it was Jordan. And yet here it is, a chapter in a documentary about how great Scotty was. And things like that. And then of course Scotty being pissed about the Last Dance instead of thankful about his inclusion in it. All these things made me go back and look at, like, my God, Scotty had like 2 points in a game. Scotty had migraines. Scotty was holding out on the team. Scotty skipped the first half of his season. Scotty's threatening to leave, demanding a trade. I mean, Jordan's actually dealing with this drama, not having a supportive sidekick during this stuff. And look, Scotty, the way Scotty almost looks like his arm extends, like Mr. Plastic or whatever he's called, Mr. Gadget. Like he can do some amazing athletic things when he's going to the rim. I can't take away that he didn't have some great things, but he also just his mental weakness and stuff like that, and a lot of bad numbers in important games. I don't know if he gets to be part of a great duo, unless you're acknowledging that he was carried in that duo.
So do you believe he earned a silver medal on those championship teams?
Sure, you can say it that way.
You got a super chat, AOH, from None of the Above, and he says Julius Erving and Moses Malone deserve a shout out. Yeah, they were great. What do you have to say about that, AOH?
Great point. And this is an example of, I should go back and look. I'm not going to pretend like I got to see every Moses Malone and Julius Erving game. It was extremely difficult back then. They were either showing it to you on TV and you happen to be in front of your TV at the right time or not. So, but thank you for the suggestion. I'll go look at Moses Malone and Erving together a little bit more.
Scap Attack, who's the greatest duo of all time?
Well, first of all, I don't like getting buried down here in the rotation, because a couple things have been stolen from me that I wanted to talk about that people have already mentioned, including I was going to mention Erving and Moses Malone, honestly, and I still will. I think, look, it depends on what are we talking about? Like in a lot of whatever debates, conversations, it comes down to a matter of semantics. Like, define the parameters of the conversation of what we're talking about. Like, what does best mean? Does it mean most decorated? Does it mean that won the most? If it does, then you have to absolutely put Jordan and Pippen at the top. They're generally considered by consensus the best duo in NBA history. Look, it's a confusing and complicated conversation. If you want to predate the ABA NBA merger in '76, you can basically pick Bill Russell and any guy. Like, you can pick like any Hall of Famer he played with in his '60s runs, and say that guy and Russell. I think probably off the top of my head, it would be Bob Cousy and Russell would be the highest level duo on that team I could think of. I think Cousy might have won 6 of them alongside. But for me, though, when I'm looking at the best duos, I'm looking at like 2 number 1 options. I'm looking at a Batman and a Superman. I'm looking at historical great players stacked side by side. That, to me, completely delegitimizes the whole conversation with Pippen and Jordan, because Pippen was substantially beneath Michael Jordan, in my opinion. So I don't look at them as a duo at all. I have Jordan as my all-time greatest player, but when I look at best duos, and look, they didn't win as much as some of these other guys, but recent history, I would bring up Curry and Durant, because those were 2 top 3 players in the NBA at the time, in their primes, joining forces with each other. They only played for 3 years, and they only played a healthy 2 years. They won both titles. I would also look at Kareem, and I would look at Magic, because they're 2 top consensus 5 to 6 players ever, and they played together. But when you look at Kareem and Magic, to me, there was a definite shift, I think, from where like Magic was definitely had taken over, and Kareem was an older player in the second portion where they were going on these runs. Again, same thing. I wanted to mention Moses Malone and Julius Erving. Julius Erving was an older player when they finally won that 1 title together. I want to mention also real quick Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson, to consent like the second or third best player maybe ever. Oscar Robertson, a top 12 or 13. They have one of the greatest championship teams ever, the 70-71 Bucks. They're like top 3 in net differential still to this day. I think they're number 2 all time in NBA history. They won that title. But again, Oscar was 32. He was kind of like a second fiddle at that point. Kobe and Shaq. These 2 dudes, I don't care how old Kobe Bryant was. Yes, he was 21, 22, and 23 when they won the 3 titles together. But he was primed already. Kobe was already the best front court player. He was already all NBA distinction, all NBA defensive distinction. He had an absolutely historically dominant run in 2001, individually in the postseason with Shaq. Never before in NBA history, in my opinion, could you make a case that the 2 best players on the planet at that time played on the same team other than with that early 2000s Lakers team? And if you want to say, no, Duncan was it was Shaq, Duncan, then whatever. Kobe was the best guard and Shaq was the best big at the time. And they were both, Kobe was ascending, but he was primed in ascension. Shaq was flat prime. I think if you're just looking at the best 2 guys at the time they played, I don't think there's much of a conversation. It's Shaq and Kobe.
So I'll wait to do my take, but I got some pushback on that. Hoop God, who's the greatest duo of all time?
Okay, how bad is my lag before I get started?
It's bad.
It's not good.
Not going to sugarcoat this.
Okay, because I was trying to make sure I got everything disconnected before I got started. I'll be brief. So I have my top 4 locks. So I had, of course, MJ, I got Kareem, Magic, Shaq, Kobe, and then I have Bird and McHale, and then I have KD and Curry. So I have them the top 5 locks, and I figured they were going to get took. So I decided to take a different approach, and I'm going to go with the great Bill Russell and Bob Cousy. The reason being is because they were offensive juggernauts before Bill Russell got there. Unfortunately, they never won a championship. No coincidence they draft Bill Russell. Well, let me be clear. Red Auerbach was able to work out a deal because Russell initially was drafted by the St. Louis Hawks. Now, they instantly get catapulted to the number 1 defense. They win the championship they won off 5 consecutive titles. Now, what I like about that is that they were like a diametrically opposite team. Like they went from being an offensively driven team to a defensively driven team. And then, of course, they riddle off the 5 championships with Bob Cousy being the only MVP caliber player that Bill Russell ever played with. So I chose to go with Cousy and Russell, seeing that They never had a top 3 scorer. In addition to they were never a top 3 offense. Like, I think this misconception that people try to, it's like they're trying to understand how did Bill Russell win the MVP in 1962. I said, well, look, right, the Celtics were just destroying people defensively. They were the only 60-win team, in the midst of Wilt Chamberlain, putting up 50 points per game. You have Jerry West, averaging 38 points per game, and I believe Oscar Robertson with his triple doubles. It's like, no, that was all offense. You have one team out of all those teams eclipse the 60-win threshold. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know defense it's not the sexy stat. They want to see all the glitz, the glamorous offensive numbers, but no, you can be dominant on defense. So I chose to go with the great Bill Russell and Bob Cousy for my greatest duo of all time, seeing that I already knew, the consensus top 5 was going to be there. So that's my take. I'm going to pass the mic.
Hey, real quick. I forgot to mention one real quick. It won't take long. Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain on that 72 Lakers team. They were older players, but 2 all-time historically great players. They at the time set the all-time NBA record for 69 wins. That record held till 95 when the Bulls won 72. The 72 Lakers still holds the all-time NBA record for net differential in an NBA regular season, and they still hold the NBA record for consecutive wins in a season at 33. I think, again, they only won 1, but I think you have to at least mention Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West.
I think the only ones we forgot so far are Malone and Stockton.
They did not win 1. See, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to count
great
rings.
duo,
I'm not going to count rings, but I think you have to win 1 to be considered a great duo. To me, like, they didn't win. And it's not like some of these other teams played for 2-3 years and still won. Stockton and Malone played for like 18 or 19 years together and never won 1.
All right. I'm going to get my take off real fast, and then we got some super chats that came in. So my number 1 is Bob Cousy and Bill Russell. During that stretch, they won 5 total MVPs. So Cousy won 1, Bill Russell won 4. Bob Cousy was All-NBA first team the entire time. Then you have Bob Cousy winning 3 assist titles along with the championship. You've got Bill Russell, I believe, winning 2 rebounding titles with the NBA championship. They won, 5 in a row? So to me, that is not a question. And during that time, Bob Cousy was also top 6 in the MVP race alongside Bill Russell consistently being on the top. So to me, that's even more so the top of the league versus Kobe and Shaq. But Nick, you're wrong. The biggest one that everyone has forgotten about is George Mikan and Jim Pollard. They won 5 NBA championships together. He won a couple scoring titles along with the championships, and Jim Pollard was All-NBA, being his sidekick for most of the time until the end of it, where Vern Mickelson came in and was starting to ascend.
Hey, Dart, do you actually have access to footage of these guys? Like, do you actually get to enjoy watching them play, or is this just based on numbers?
This is just based off of numbers and qualitative data. I've seen some highlights, but I mean, I haven't watched a whole game. I mean,
I'm just wondering if that's even possible. It'd be like the
it's a whole different game anyway. I mean, if you go and you value today's game, you're going to look at the 90s and say it's trash because all you look at is and say, well, all they do is shoot 3-point, all they do is pound in the paint. They don't do these fancy dribbling. They don't shoot the 3-point shot, so they suck. So the eye test, I think it only really matters in time and space and respect to the guys that they're playing against. Because you can't, in my opinion, you can't judge the game of Bill Russell versus Michael Jordan. You can't judge the game of Michael Jordan versus somebody like Steph Curry. And again, this is loose comparisons, but there's differences within the eras. So to say that, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, George Mikan was trash because one reason or another, how he dribbled, how he shot, just how the game was played. So,
for example,
I mean,
Cousy dribbling, his hand was on top of the ball the entire time, never even on the side, much less under. And that of course looks different. Dribbling with your hand on top of the ball is quite difficult. Now, could today's players do it? they would have to relearn. I'm sure they're capable of it, but they would literally have to relearn dribbling because they've learned how to carry on almost every dribble now. So does Bob Cousy look like he's going to break ankles and go slam the ball? Not in that footage, but I wonder how many guys today wouldn't also look goofy if they suddenly had to keep their hand on top of the ball 100% of the time.
Well, he also was able to do things that, in respect to a lot of the passes he's done, a lot of guys can't even do those passes today.
With his hand on top of the ball. He didn't even palm it before making that pass. It's pretty amazing.
So, look, again, I say this is a murky conversation because if you predate the NBA merger in '76, which is, to me, I have guys in my top 10 all time and in my top 20 that predate the merger point, but it really is difficult to cross compare. It's hard to compare any era, but predominantly before the merger because the league was just so different. It's difficult to argue the points that you made when you look at the accolades that both those players were receiving and the amount of championships that they were winning. But just to contextualize it just a bit, Bob Cousy's last NBA season was 1962-63. So in his final season, when he stopped playing, there were 9 total teams in the NBA at that point. So it's just, yes, they were on the best team. So yes, they were winning MVP consideration every year, obviously, because there was only 9 teams and they were the best team and they were winning every year. So I think some of those accolades, you need, I don't want to devalue them or take them away. And again, I do rank both of those players highly, especially Russell. But when you're comparing it within the guise of, let's put prime Shaq and Kobe on a team for 8 years together with 8 other teams other than themselves and see what those two guys would do. Even in the context of today, in this modern era, let's put them on it with 8 other teams, just those 2 dudes in their prime, and see, if they win, they would probably win 8 straight championships in my estimation. They won 3 all as it was in the modern era of the NBA. So, I mean, it's just hard. It's hard to compare if you go before the merger. That's why I put that little caveat when I was talking about that.
Well, it goes down the rabbit hole too, because if you have 9 teams and you play in the era that they played in, then where do Tim Duncan, the other all-time, Dwayne Wade, Gary Payton, are they all on the same team now, along with David Robinson? Because if you're taking all that talent together, smushing it together,
right? So every team basically has great talent and super teams. Basically, I get it's a valid argument.
Yeah, but to your point, it could have been different. It's all what if, but to your point, those guys together were dominant. To follow up, what we're going to talk about next is what does a duo mean? Is it that you're at the same level? Are you Batman and Robin? Are you gold medal and silver medal or bronze medal?
I have a late entry because somebody talked about Shaq and Kobe in 01-02. Kobe Bryant and Donaghy together. What a duo.
Yeah. Let's get through some of these super chats real fast. Cash super chats says Harold Miner and Ronnie Sakali. What do you say about that, AOH?
That's great. That is a great little pull from history. Miner with a short but hot burning career, the 93 dunk champion. Thank you for the super chat. Anyone else have any memories of Miner and Cycli?
No,
I have no clue. No clue. None.
I don't.
It's okay. I'm pretending to.
Where's Rex? Rex he has to have something.
Rex at least read about it.
Yeah.
None of the above. Super chats for $24. He says, share the 6-way. None of the above. For the 1 millionth time. It's not just you, but everyone in the world. That's not how it works. So it's double work. So if you want to super chat everybody next time, I know it's just AOH here at this point. But the easiest way is if you super chat everyone's individual channel. But I guess if AOH would like to do it, he can. But
This
anyway,
is me spreading it.
he says, great points on semantics, Scap. Most dominant, Shaq and Kobe. Most successful, MJ and Pip. Most compatible, Stockton and Malone. Most infamous, LeBron James and Silver. Most forgotten, Moses and Dr. J. Most what if, Dirk and Nash. I guess this is directed towards Scap since your name is in it. So what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think a lot of any kind of a debate or conversation really just does come down to semantics and defining the parameters of what we're actually talking about. If it's just decoration, if it's just the rings, just the winning, just the success level, then that obviously just puts maybe one or two guys up for consideration. But if we're talking about which individual players were individually great at that time that were playing together that constitutes a duo, most unstoppable, most dominant, that changes the discussion to me. And that's why, for me, I think Shaq and Kobe were honestly, they won 3. Think about this. They won 3. Kobe really didn't become Kobe till their first ring. So they played basically 5 seasons together. They went to 4 titles, won 3, three-peated, which is one of only 3 three-peats since the merger point of 76, 77. Literally, Jordan and Pippen were the other 2 three-peats, and then Shaq and Kobe. That's it. That's the only people that have done it in like 50 years. So they were that good, that dominant in such a short period of time, and they hated each other while they were playing. They just despised one another. They were essentially looked like at times competing against each other on the same team on the court, and still no one could beat that team. So, and the team wasn't that good. Derek Fisher was their third option. If you want to go and look at some of these other teams with dynastic duos and so forth, like look at the 3rd, 4th, 5th guys, whatever on those teams. Derek Fisher was the second leading scorer on the Lakers during their playoff runs in 01 and 02. Think that over. Derek Fisher, who's a 6-point per game career scorer in NBA with no All-Stars ever in like 19 seasons played. That was their third best guy.
And then Crafty Cam, super chats for $2, Magic and Kareem. Another great duo. Not as good as Mikan and Pollard, though. Anyway.
Uncut Hoops, real quick. Hang on. I see Uncut Hoops saying Glenn Rice, 2000. Yes, that was 2000. I said 2001 and 2002. That would be Derek Fisher both years.
You better give Derek Fisher some love because he set the record for the shortest period of time you could shoot a shot that saved Kobe and Shaq's playoffs against the.
What was that, 0.4?
Yeah. Against
First of all, allow me to fact check you. That shot was actually in a year the Lakers did not win the NBA championship. That was in their 04 run. So that shot did not result in any kind of additional ringage for Kobe or Shaq.
But it got him past Duncan, which it shouldn't have.
That game in and of itself was ridiculous, AOH. I dare you to go back and look at that game. Kobe Bryant hit the game-winning shot in that game with 12 seconds remaining. Tim Duncan came down and hoisted up this pure garbage, hang on, let me finish. This lucky ass shot falling away from the free throw line. Shaquille O'Neal's arm was literally implanted in the middle of his face. It was total fluke, total BS. Kobe won that game. Duncan's garbage shot wiped it away, and Fisher's garbage shot with 4/10 just restored it to what it should have been, Kobe's game winner. Go look at it.
Remember what Shaq said? Do you remember what Shaq said after the game?
Yeah,
I do not, but I see that you can confirm that I am telling the truth on this game.
Yeah, he goes one lucky shot
deserved another. I'm so clever. And he had to repeat himself. You know, he always repeats himself. He thinks he's so fucking clever. In case you didn't get my joke,
you can get out of here with the anti-Kobe narratives right now.
Duncan
AOH.
Definitely.
Duncan was better than Kobe.
That was a practice shot. It looked practiced. It looked beautiful, and it looked smooth. In fact, Shaq fouled him on that shot, so he should have gone to the free. He should have gone to the free throw line too.
Shaq had G34 classification. You're all
Hey, Dart. All right, real quick before that super chat, can we give Jason Terry and Dirk Nowitzki some love? I mean, literally that 2011 Finals performance for a duo. I mean, we got to acknowledge that at least.
Yeah, what sucks is that Terry came off the bench though for a lot of that, so it's kind of hard to, in terms of like all-time duos. Terry did a lot. Terry never gets talked about as such a good teammate, man. He did whatever he was asked to do.
Yeah, the real controversy there is who do you put as the duo with Dirk? Is it Jason Kidd? Is it Barea? Is it?
I honestly would say Chandler, if we wanted to be honest. Chandler anchored one side and Dirk anchored the other. You know, that's kind of how I saw it.
Did you just say Mark Cuban? Just say Mark Cuban.
Yeah, hey, I don't care who y'all want to name. It's fine with me.
AOH, which current duo is the best?
I'll go back to my joke, LeBron and JJ. Just you know what? At this moment, there's actually an answer. It is Westbrook and Jokic.
Not Murray and Jokic? Scap, I'm going to go. Oh, do you have something to respond to with that?
Oh, well, I mean, I would say Russell Westbrook is better than Jamal Murray right now. And he fits the system better. He plays better with Jokic. I honestly, that's a joke probably, I think, but it really, if it were me, I would probably run Murray as the sixth man and have Jokic in the start, or have Jokic and Westbrook in the starting lineup together. When they get Aaron Gordon back, that is.
I can only think of three: Brown and Tatum, Giannis and Lillard, and Luka and Kyrie. I think probably would be the top three on paper and in terms of the standings.
I think probably you would have to say. I would think you would have to say Tatum and Brown. I think, look, Jaylen Brown was, I think, absolutely robbed out of it. He was robbed out of an All-NBA. He should have been All-NBA 13 last year. So it's hard to say, you know, although Irving wasn't even an All-Star last year. So I think you can make a pretty solid case. Obviously Giannis and Dame are having great seasons. Off the top of my head, Giannis like 32 points per game, leading the league in scoring, and Dame is at like 26, 27 points per game right now. So high level second, if you want to call that a second guy. But yeah, the Boston duo probably would get my vote for today.
I think, and then Willis Reed and Walt Frazier, do they get a mention as well?
John Havlicek, Dave Cowens. You could talk about Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes.
Hey, Cash says that Westbrook is a shorter Aaron Gordon, and I want to say about Gordon, I would like to see Gordon have a little bit more of Westbrook's aggression and explosiveness, because I know Gordon is capable of it, but he seems like he's playing at like 75% speed a lot these days.
Well, that's when he's playing. He's been hurt all year. I mean, he missed games early. He's been out for like 5 or 6 games now. I mean, he's just not healthy right now.
But let's go back to the previous season. Like, I feel like he could rise up and dunk on a lot of people out there, and he just waits for the really easy open lob from Jokic instead of being the guy that goes and gets it. I'd like to see a little bit more of that.
Seems like he maxed out against the Lakers. I feel like, what was that, 3-4 years ago in that series? Their championship run when they beat the Lakers in the first or second round?
2023. That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Nobody mentioned KD and Russ. I didn't know if we were keeping this to championship duos or not. But nobody mentioned
Kevin Durant, you got to win at least one. Like I said, you got to win at least one.
We got to include Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars then.
That is one that got missed. Yeah. That would be, those two would be in the mix.
And do they just have to be the two biggest names on the team, or do they actually have to feed off of each other in a successful manner?
I think that's what Dark
that's the follow-on question. What is a duo? So, Hoop God, what is a duo in your opinion?
When I'm thinking of a duo, you have to be able to not only complement each other, i.e. Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But I firmly believe that you have to be able to take the pressure off of said player, right? Like if one guy's struggling, hey, don't worry about it, big fella, I got you. I.e. Magic Johnson coming in, starting for Kareem as a rookie, and everybody knows the incredible stat line: 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. The great Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant. I mean, essentially, what people don't want to admit, and this is what I'm starting to see, that had they had this Western Conference Finals MVP, well, Kobe would have 4 of them because he was the lead guy in those playoff runs. Whether they want to admit it or not, he was the lead guy, as Gil likes to quote, the lead dog. And then when you get to the finals, well, okay, let's look at the matchups. You have Kobe going against top 75 guards, right? Who's Shaquille O'Neal going up against? Dikembe Mutombo, Rick Smits, and Keith Van Horn. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to dominate that. So I mean, it's common sense. Yeah, go to Shaq. But I look at a duo like both either or can take the pressure off of the other player. Now, when we get to Jordan and Pippen, I don't really see Pippen being able to take that scoring pressure off of Michael Jordan. Yet Michael Jordan can come out there and facilitate and play make better than Pippen. I mean, he done it in 91. 33 points, 11 and a half assists. Pippen hadn't even got close to that. So I don't really consider that per se a duo. I think that's more so a 1-2 punch. But when I'm thinking of a duo, can one guy replace the other's productivity, out on the floor? This is my perspective on that.
AOH, what's the duo to you?
When they cause each other to be better, when they just seem to be able to read each other's thoughts, and it leads to higher productivity.
Nice. Okay.
nice and short.
All right. Scap, what's a duo to you?
Yeah, to me, it's 2 fairly equal players, which is why my list of duos is somewhat small. It's less. I mentioned a lot, but my list of actual great NBA duos is not very long because I think they have to be 2 historically great guys that were fairly even in their list of duties and responsibilities. That's why, to me, Pippen and Jordan really don't constitute a duo. Pippen was a sidekick. He was a Robin. He was like a second tier player to Jordan. Like Jordan was the guy in everything, in every aspect. To me, like Shaq and Kobe do, even though they hated each other and were constantly feuding off the court, they did really perfectly balance each other. I mean, you can't get better than the best, most dominant front court guy and the best, most dominant backcourt guy on the floor at the same time with each other. So in my opinion, like those complementary pieces that they play to each other and being at such a high individual level, that's why to me they're easily the best duo in NBA history.
Question for Scap. When Pippen was requesting that trade and pulling all that crap on the Bulls, what percentage of that was him truly being upset with his contract, and what percent was him having a Shaq Kobe moment where he needed to feel like he could go out and say, "Oh no, I'm not just a Robin"?
I don't know. I lived through the Shaq Kobe feud. I was in, high school when they were really at their crescendo and they were at their high point. So I saw the media coverage every day. My uncle lived in California. I just had great knowledge of what was going on behind the scenes during that time with the Pippen Jordan stuff. I was really young. I mean, I was around for, I vividly remember Jordan's second three-peat, but I didn't really have a finger to the pulse, so to speak, of what was going on and the minutia and the news cycle and so forth and the way it was being covered. But just looking at the two players and understanding, if we're going to say Kobe was the guy that was fighting for relevancy, like Scottie Pippen allegedly was trying to fight for, relevancy at the time, Kobe was just an alpha dog. He just demanded that. Of course he wanted it. He wanted to prove that and show people that he was the 1A. He wanted to do that. He wanted to go off on his own, win his own, and show people what it was all about. To me, Scottie Pippen didn't have that mentality. I mean, you could point to him sitting on the bench and pouting like a little baby in that game the year that Jordan was out when Phil Jackson drew up the last shot for Kukoc. And by the way, Kukoc hit the game-winning shot essentially, by the way. So I just don't think that Scottie Pippen, he was just all about money to me. So I think that was pretty much purely about his finances and not about trying to prove his relevancy and prove that he was a 1A too. Because I don't think he thought of himself like that.
Yeah. Nick, what's a duo to you?
Yeah, so I feel like the default, it kind of has to be like a guard and a big in a way. I think this is what I was kind of getting with the Dwayne Wade and the LeBron thing, is that they're just two great individual players. They're not necessarily feeding off of each other like in a scheme or in a set play kind of thing. So that's why I kind of went with Duncan and Parker. And I disagree with Scap a little bit in terms of like they have to have the same responsibility or demand or skill set. I think it's possible one guy could be really good and there could be this other guy who maybe isn't good at a lot of things, but he does this one or two particular things that unlock both of their skill sets, right? And allow them to go to a higher level. So it kind of seems like the default in a way kind of has to be like a pick and roll guard and big alley-oop, feeding each other, kind of reading each other's minds and, knowing what the other guy's next step's going to be. That's kind of how I see it. They don't, one guy doesn't necessarily have to be like this prime possible first option. It could just be that he allows the other star or another guy to do what he does well and flourish kind of thing, right? So almost like an Amari Stoudemire and Nash, if you think about it. Amari's a great player, right? But Nash and him, both were allowed to take each other to such another statistical level, and watching those guys play together was absolutely incredible. That's why I was kind of getting with the Dirk and Nash, and Dirk and Nash being a pick and pop kind of combo is just not quite the same as an Amari and Nash roll into the whole athleticism and finishing, right? And you could I think most people would say Dirk, they'd probably take Dirk over Amari, right? But I would argue that Nash and Amari played much better together than Dirk and Nash did, if that kind of makes sense.
All right.
I think real quick, I just want to say because I do peruse these comments. There's people accusing us of Pippen slander in the comments, and I just want to say that Pippen should stop the Jordan slander. And then people would like that. That's a really good point by AOH that he made earlier, because I had reverence and respect for Scottie Pippen my whole life growing up. And then when he lost his mind and became a damn fool and started talking shit on Michael Jordan, that's when I really started digging into what he actually was and what he did during that span of time. And let me also just say that Pippen was on record for years saying Jordan's the GOAT. And then whenever he had his falling out with Jordan, now he champions LeBron James too. It's just a pathetic and a disgusting turn by Scottie Pippen. So the fact that he has done these things is why we are now going back retroactively and actually digging into it. So anyone out there that thinks that we're slandering Scottie Pippen, he can look himself in the mirror to understand why that is.
Slander has to account for untrue statements. So I wouldn't consider it slander. Maybe being a little hard on him, but it's not slander.
Yeah, but like I said, he brought it on himself. I mean, all Pippen ever had to do was just not talk about what he did or say what he did, and people would still love him,
Steam Engine, what's a duo to you?
That would be two people, Dark.
Jesus.
No, nobody mentioned
everybody.
Jason Whitlock and Scap Attack. I think we should be bringing them up more. No, I think I was a big fan of Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, because I felt like they were two powerhouses, but they also complemented each other. And I felt like they were cool off the court as well. I think you still see pieces of that now. Like I feel like I've seen both of them take on each other's, cultures and points of view and things like that. And they seemed like they actually meshed, personality wise. I don't think we see that very often. So I guess I'm taking away from Hoop God's answer. At least I think it was his. When he
Are
was
you
talking
remembering
about two
things?
players that complement
Are you
each
remembering
other.
specific examples?
I sure
remember
would.
them having-
I sure would love an opportunity to keep speaking because I didn't cut people off when I talked, But
No,
Of course, what I was saying wasn't boring as fuck.
So yeah, that's where I would go. I apologize, audience. I had another point, but AOH.
I want to keep your conversation going. I want you to give us some specifics. Like I'm trying to remember Tracy McGrady and Yao's relationship.
Well, if I remember correctly, Tracy McGrady was overseas a lot of the times in China with Yao Ming advocating for the NBA, if I recall, and vice versa.
During
Like
that?
Yao Ming, during that whole thing, and I'm pretty sure Yao Ming attended a ton of Tracy McGrady charity stuff. I know they seem to be pretty tight knit off the court. I mean, I can't prove that, of course, but there's the reason I bring that up is because I don't imagine Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown hanging out outside of basketball, or even Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Like they're not a great duo. They're portrayed to be, but I can't imagine them having a solid relationship off the court. That's not a thing that really happens anymore amongst players, let alone great duos.
I don't think there was a greater bromance than Dirk and Nash off the court. You've seen some of the pictures of them like at the bar and stuff. I feel like they had. I think they like had an apartment together. They used to like just have jam sessions and stuff, like the most white guy stuff ever. Like I always think of that. Pretty funny.
Well, we say European now, Nick. Take it easy.
My bad.
Yeah,
they are
well,
both foreigners technically.
I liked Amari and Nash in the dunk contest together with Nash incorporating soccer.
That was the most
Yeah, that was
overrated dunk I'd ever seen. Are you talking about that kick pass to Amari? He
I
got a
can't.
50 on that?
And he
I
headbutted
don't
one
play
too, I
soccer,
think.
so it looked impressive to me.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, for Nash, it was impressive on Nash's part, but Amari Stoudemire just did what he always does.
Yeah, that's true.
Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic is the greatest bromance in NBA history, but that's besides the point.
Tobias Harris has the worst contract I've ever seen in my life.
You know, Cash mentioned that him being a Chicagoan, what the Bulls did and how magical that was for that city. For Pippen to come out and then do what he did was just like putting a stain on something beautiful. It's really kind of unforgivable. It's really sad. Just be thankful for what you experienced.
Yeah. So for me, what a duo is that it really, you have to have two heads to a snake, two heads to a spear. There's got to be leaders involved with it. There got to be guys that are a pure front man that are working together. It can't be a front man and his drummer that just does pure rhythm. Like that's not a duo. That's a sidekick. There's a lead man in a band, and then it doesn't mean there's not other front men. You could have a lead guitarist that just kills with a lot of these great melodies and solos, or even the drum guy can do, solos. But the point of it is that a duo is not one strong guy and then a guy that complements him. That I think that's the wrong word to use in the word complement. They have to both be frontmen, and they have to work together to push themselves farther for their goals and basketball purposes to win a championship. And like Scap was saying, I don't consider anybody to be one of the greatest duos of all time if they've never won a championship, because that's the standard. If you haven't done that, then you can be great, quote unquote, but you're not the greatest. That's a underlying thing that has to occur, in my opinion, for you to be considered one of the greatest duos, because if not, what did you really do then in comparison to all time? You didn't do anything. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And
what's up?
We haven't really talked about it, but I did just want to, I mentioned it and really nobody else, but the Curry and Durant pairing was, I mean, that was a pretty elite high leverage kind of a pairing. Like I'd say they're right up there to me. I'd say Shaq, let's say post merger. So from 76, 77 on, I'd say it was probably like Magic, Kareem, Kobe, Shaq, and then Curry and Durant. And that's it. I'd say those are the three best for sure. Because again, Durant and Curry were a tandem where who was even the better player? Like I don't even really know. I mean, that you can make a case for Durant. He scored more points. He was the closer. He scored the fourth quarter points. They went through him to take the last shots and all that stuff. But like Curry kind of made that system overall work. Like he freed Kevin Durant up for a lot of the action, and still Curry's points were and rebounds and assists and everything like that. Like, I mean, that was we're just lucky. I hated the whole super team era. We're lucky that Durant didn't want to stay longer there, because they would be assaulting like all-time considerations, because they would probably have 6-7 rings if Durant decided to stay after he, when he ruptured the Achilles.
And they would have beaten the Raptors if he hadn't also.
Easily. They would have three-peated easily. Durant got hurt in that finals against the Raptors. They would have.
Clay got hurt. Cousins was coming off of an injury. I mean, they were plagued.
And then Clay got hurt too that series and missed that. That's when he ripped his knee up in that series. So it was literally just Curry. And I think it was still a 6-game series. I think the Raptors won 4-2, even with them missing Clay and Durant for the whole series. Easily they would have three-peated. And then if we're talking about Durant not even rupturing the Achilles, which I'm still factoring in him doing that. I mean, they could have won 4 or 5 straight, I think, if Durant didn't rupture the Achilles.
Does Durant stay even after the Draymond stuff, though?
No, if we're playing in the fantasy world, Draymond is gone.
I would kick Draymond Green up in a heartbeat. I would have stayed with Durant and shunned Durant or I'm sorry, Green. He would have been excommunicated from Golden State immediately if Durant gave any indication that he wanted to stay.
Probably could have, and even
Never
back then, you
return.
probably could have traded Green and got something good in return.
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of all-time great players that played together, but in the respect of what you're saying, Scap, ones that won multiple titles, because the Dr. J. Moses Malone one was tough, as the kids like to say as well. Both won MVPs, both just perennial all-star, all-NBA players. And then Dr. J, prior, when he was in the ABA, had done won the scoring titles, won the championships there as well. So that was a really strong team, a really strong duo, but they ran into better teams overall, in my opinion, ultimately, I guess, if you want to consider them better duos with the Magic and Kareem specifically.
The East was brutal too at that time.
Yep, and they made the finals, I think, 3 or 4 times during that run. But yeah, they either lost to the Lakers, they lost to Portland, and then they lost to the Celtics quite a few times.
Here's the tricky thing with Pippen's legacy. If the league hadn't been so busy cheating for Kobe, the Blazers probably would have won that series, and that's
there's absolutely no truth to any of the statement that AOH just uttered. That he's talking about the 99-2000 Western Conference Finals, where that was when Kobe was. That first one was, you could make a case that year was the second option. And I would concede that in the first one, the 2000, that was when 21-year-old Kobe Bryant busted Scottie Pippen's ass all over the floor in that series and in Game 7 against the Trailblazers. That would be the series where the Lakers went up 3-1. The Trailblazers came back to even at 3-3. Then the Trailblazers were up by 13 points at the end of the third quarter in Game 7 in Staples, and they just couldn't hold the greatness of young Kobe Bryant. They couldn't stop young Kobe in the fourth. That was when he crossed the shit out of Pippen, by the way, and lofted that pass up to Shaq where he came in and hammered it, and they ran down the court.
He did. He made Pippen look really bad on that.
Yeah.
But after that alley-oop, did Shaq pretend not to see Kobe? Because I think Kobe wanted to get dabbed up.
You're right.
I remember that.
Yeah. Shaq did kind of ignore Kobe when they were running down the court. He did.
All right, we got
the end. That was it. That was the moment.
We got some super chats that came in. Crafty Cam says Kobe and Gasol are a great duo because Labalco was still crying about losing Defensive Player of the Year.
Well,
That's
we
the
just have
longest
to
all.
we just have to fact check this real quick. That was brother Mark Gasol, not Pau Gasol, that won that Defensive Player of the Year award that LeBron still does. LeBron legitimately still does cry about this. That was, I believe, 2012, maybe 2013. Over a decade ago, and I saw him on his his name of his show is, whatever that thing is. And he literally this year, like a few months ago, and he was saying, well, I should have had that Defensive Player of the Year award. I should have had that one. Like, still crying about it. Like 11, 12 years later, LeBron James, the king of pettiness.
He cries.
Remember that
on
one
so
time?
many. He cries on so many different platforms. It's hard to keep track of which one he whined on.
Hey,
with specific quotes.
Scap. The name of that show is called Mind the Blame. That's the one he was crying and complaining on.
I think you're right.
None of you guys said Podcast P and Roy Hibbert. Very confused. If we're talking about Eastern powerhouses.
Very confused.
I mean, are you saying like 6 tier or something like that? Okay.
DeMar DeRozan.
No, I'm just on this. I'm on this Podcast P hate train lately.
Oh,
I can't stand him. It's getting there for me. Not to digress. Sorry.
What about
Jeff,
DeRozan?
you do know who Tim
Lowry?
Donaghy is, though, right? You know who Tim Donaghy is, right? If we're not talking about cheating for Kobe. Okay, just making sure.
A lot of cheating going on there.
We have mentioned Tim Donaghy about 3 times this episode.
Good. That's right. Famous duos. That's right. Never mind.
Let's not forget 2006 as well.
What happened in 06? The Lakers lost in the first round.
Wait, we got to give Mike Bibby and Chris
Talking
Webber
about the Mavericks.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, the finals.
Cash that super chats for $1.99. Gray Godin and Joel Serbilia.
Chris Bilia.
Who, God, you were about to mention who? Mike Bibby and who? Chris Webber?
Mike Bibby and Chris Webber. I think that duo, I think they were significant. Unfortunately, they just ran into a buzzsaw. So, yeah.
I mean, if we're talking guys, duos that didn't win, we can also mention Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Just want to say that.
The glove and the Rain Man, respectively.
Oh, what about Clyde Drexler and Hakeem?
You're right. They did. They won the 1 year.
mentioned.
He came over. He slid over from in the trade deadline in '95, and they went on that magical run in '95.
I can't believe the Rockets got him for what they did. Who'd they trade again? That's the center, the power forward, and
Otis Thorpe.
Yeah, man, just absolute robbery.
Yeah. King's Speech, super chats for $5. He says, Scap, are you from Colorado? Just trying to get a handle on your Jokic love. He's one of my favorites too. I try to emulate him on the court when I play.
Yeah. So I basically completely despised the NBA from 2011 on, because LeBron James and Kevin Durant just completely destroyed the NBA with super teaming garbage and destroying the competitive balance of the sport as a whole. Completely unwatchable. So when Giannis, actually, I became a huge Giannis fan when Giannis won his first championship, because he did it the right way. He stayed in a small market that drafted him and won with just complementary pieces. And then when Jokic came around, in my estimation, he's done exactly the same. Stayed in a small market with complementary pieces, won a championship, and honestly, he's taken it to another level, in my estimation, above even the great Giannis. I'm a big Giannis Antetokounmpo fan still to this day, but the things that Nikola Jokic are doing and continues to do, and Giannis kind of got on my bad side with his whole "there's no failure in sports" commentary after they lost that one playoff series, and some of the little antics he's done, and then now he does have a great player with him in Dame Lillard. So now I just kind of champion Jokic for these reasons, because he still is just making his way through with, to me, really substandard pieces. And the guy never complains, never speaks out of sort on any of it. Doesn't complain about the organization, the teammates, nothing. Never asks for any help, just keeps doing it at a preposterously high level. And in case you guys don't know, real fast, I I defend the people that need to be defended. I look for guys that are underrated, like Kobe. People talk about, oh, Kobe. Jay Scap does the same for Kobe that the LeBron stands do for LeBron. Not true, because everyone has LeBron at like 1 or 2 consensus. People have Kobe out here. People are running around out here slandering the hell out of Kobe Bryant, like 11, 12, 15th all time. It's absolute lunacy. And I see Jokic, for some reason, catching all kinds of criticism, including on this panel from time to time, which is why I get so loud and worked up about it on this panel. So I'm just going to defend the great Nikola Jokic because I think he needs it.
Oh,
You didn't answer if you used to be in Colorado.
I've never lived in. I had an aunt that lived in Colorado for a while, and I visited a bit, but that was when I was much younger, way before Nikola Jokic.
And Jokic triple doubles leads to winning, by the way. I can appreciate that.
Good point.
Catch Super Chats and says, Scap, the refs gave Kobe the series versus the Kings in the Western Conference Finals.
Well, there's no
Sorry,
question.
but it's true.
Darn,
I blame
we
AOH.
mentioned Tim Donaghy 3 times. Did you just want to get it a 4th time in? Is that why you?
I blame AOH for that one.
Or let's shoot for 13. 13 times.
That's actually Cash is actually AOH. That's his like shell burner. That's his KD burner handle right there. Cash is AOH.
Hoops, God, you're blaming me for remembering history.
Scott, can you agree that it was an offensive foul on Bibby?
What, you mean that incredible swim move that Kobe had that game?
When Bibby punched
and
Kobe's
Bibby
elbow
threw his face into Kobe's arm when because the swim move was just too fast, and then tackled Kobe to the ground. I mean, how do you not give Kobe 2 free throws on that? I don't know.
Was bleeding so bad from whiplash. He hit Kobe too hard.
But didn't the Kings miss a bunch of free throws in that game too, or was that the next game?
Game 7.
Jesus Christ.
Game 7, Arco. Overtime game. Kings 14 of 30 from the free throw line.
Yeah, Jesus.
Damn.
Yikes.
Well, talking about burner accounts, and particularly because of guys like Gilbert that just we discovered us or whatever. Sometimes there's these burner accounts on here that I question if they're NBA players. Like one of them came on here the other day called Face of the League, and it's like, is that LeBron?
I don't put nothing past nobody in this day and time.
But yeah, and then even with some of the contention with the when FYF was in the debate league, there's a burner account. He's like, yeah, it was some burner. He's like, yeah, you know, if I came on here, I would do whatever. And it's like, it had to have been somebody in the realm of at least media, if not a prior or current NBA player.
Real quick, Dart, because I want to stay as positive as possible. But since you mentioned his name, FYF snitching to Kwame Brown about Scap calling him trash or whatever. It might have been the softest, most vulnerable thing I've ever seen a man do in my life, and that's not even me talking trash. That's just me. Like I've never seen that action take place where somebody just immediately, as somebody comes in the room, says, "Oh, by the way, Scap said so and so and so and so," and it's just like what are we doing here with that? And I don't want to give too much context to it because I don't want to give too much attention to it. But Scap, just know that I recognized how corny that was, and I did my best.
I do just want to say that I apologize to Kwame, and I actually went back and rewatched what I said. And I said Kobe, by and large, had trash for the last 10 years of his career after Shaq left. So I was, in essence, lumping every player that Kobe played with after Shaq into the trash category, including Pau Gasol. So it was no disrespect to Kwame Brown. Obviously, I don't think Pau Gasol is trash. He might be one of the few that Kobe did play with that I don't think that after Shaq left town. But I didn't specifically call Kwame trash. And if I inferred it, Kwame, if you're out there and watching, again, I apologize.
Hey, so Speen, so you're telling me FYF dislocated his shoulder with that Mr. Fantastic reach?
Oh, bro, it was... Yeah, Plastic Man, Mr. Fantastic. That's the second time we're mentioning both of those. It was out of the socket. They had to pop it back in.
Man.
I can't see Kwame being that upset with it, figuring his channel name is Bust Life. I mean, he kind of what is
that
it?
Came up too.
well, he goes and he kind of lives in that terminology. You know what I mean? Like he lives in that
Dart,
aspect.
Dart, he did a whole like instant reaction, and like he
4
was
hour long
supportive.
one.
He was
Yeah.
supportive of Scap. So I mean, whatever F-Web tried, like it didn't work. Cause I mean, he was shouting Scap out. He was like, yeah, Gil, you're gonna be on your best behavior this time. And yo, that was hilarious.
Yeah, Scap, you torched Gil. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing, Gil's only real response was, I played in the NBA, and I was a professional. And not to say, again, I'm not saying he had no great points, but essentially you went and you brought up claims and you brought evidence with statistics and other aspects of whatever happened during the time, some qualitative data. And then a lot of what Gil was saying, I'm not saying this is everything he said, but a lot of it was, well, I played in the NBA and so said this, and then he just left it at that, or he would dance around your statements or your questions.
Yeah, and I'll just say this real quick about it, and I'm gonna dissect that thing and do some review of it and do some additional fact checking on some of the stuff that was said on there. But I didn't link that to my channel. I had very little time to prepare for it. It was linked from Gilbert Arenas' channel and from FYF, so it was all of their subscribers and stuff in the comments primarily. So I saw a lot of comments that were like, Scap's moving the goalpost, blah, blah, blah. My main premise of that conversation, which I literally said my first statement before we began, was me defining what we were talking about. I think that those three rings are belittled in such a way that they're used by people to lower Kobe Bryant's all-time standing. That was my point is, Kobe's level of participation and the things that he delivered and brought to the Lakers to win those three are enough when you sprinkle in the rest of his career to keep him right up there, to me, at like number 2 all time. So that was really what I wanted to talk about. Gilbert literally just wanted to talk about Kobe's a second option in the first 3 rings. So we were constantly like in this pooling of like, I'm trying to get into an overall picture, mainly in from the LeBron standpoint, because I know Gilbert has LeBron above Kobe. And that was where we just kept battling back and forth on. But yeah, he didn't really, whenever I brought up many things, he didn't necessarily answer them. So yeah, you're right. I'll be pointing that out in some videos this week.
King Speech says, my 3 favorite players are Westbrook, Giannis, and Jokic. $2 super chat. Awesome. And then SC says, sup guys, Jokic and Giannis care about winning, and the Kings were robbed. This is 5 times.
Man, AOH, how many of these burner accounts do you have?
Are you counting the one I'm creating at the moment?
I see you. We don't see you up there because you're currently typing super thanks to yourself here.
Somebody's got some background noise with a child or something.
Yeah, that was I just yelled at her to listen, to be obedient. At least he uses a burner account for you, Scap. He just attacks me directly.
That's
AOH.
true.
So be happy.
Kobe Bryant Film Rooms super chats for $1.99. Salute Scap for putting out the truth on Kobe.
The rapist.
Wow.
Therapist. You spelled your therapist. That's a joke for the kids.
Thank you. That's a funny skit.
Man, AOH, he's running amok on this. We needed someone to take over since Robin's
That wasn't
not here
me.
today.
What are you talking about?
All right, I'm going to drop the link. I think we got time for about 1 caller, and then we'll shut this thing down.
Oh man,
If you're on my channel, you got the jump, because AOH's channel, or if you're on Nick's or Hoop God's channel, you got the jump to call in.
Yes, everyone. Apologize for me not linking. I talked about with the guys here before we came on, but apologize for me not getting this up on my channel. I have some moderator issues. I have some spamming issues going on that I need to sort out. I don't want to bog down the chat in the interim until I manage to get that. So if you found me, if you're from my channel and you found your way here, thank you for coming over. And subscribe to Dart, please. MJFB. Subscribe here to him.
Same
Thank
thing
you.
for the 2 or 3 people watching my channel, including AOH.
And
Subscribe
the
to
other
every.
two are my burner accounts, so you're thankful for. You're welcome for all three.
Yes, thank you.
Please take note of the ticker on the bottom. Subscribe to all in the stream, all super. Anyway, no. Take note of the ticker. It says you subscribe to everyone, please, as well. That's on here. But yeah, nobody's called in yet so far. That's usually they call in faster, but I guess most of the people are on AOH's channel. I think we got about 50
What are you
on
saying
mine.
that they can't call in if they're on my channel?
It's not getting shot to your channel. It's getting shot to my channel or the link. You can drop it in your channel.
Okay.
But yeah. Oh God. With the no mute. But yeah, so yeah, I'm excited to see your Gilbert breakdown, Scap. I think you dropped a video earlier. I didn't get to watch it because I essentially roll out of bed to come do this in the morning. So anyway,
yeah, I had pre-written. I was writing a video when that all was going down, and I was working on it when Lamont at FYF comment reached out and got a hold of me and wanted to set that up. So I didn't get to finish it, but I wanted to put it out in some capacity. So I edited it and, I got it out today. Luckily, it's kind of like a tease for what's coming in terms of those videos next week.
Hey, Scap, real quick. I think you said this on yours and AOH's episode the other day. You were giving Kendrick Perkins credit for coming back around on Jokic. If I remember correctly? Okay. I kind of want to take that credit away from Kendrick Perkins because I feel like when he was playing that whole race card, the damage had already been done. And that's in large part why Embiid even got that MVP. So for him to come around the next season, then acknowledging Jokic's greatness, to me, that's like, all right, cool. But you already did what you set out to do by basically, commanding this narrative that he shouldn't have another MVP. So now he doesn't get it. And from now on, he's no longer going to be the three-peated, European great. And so that's why I can't give Kendrick Perkins too much credit.
Exactly. Perkins got what he wanted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Vacation Wealth Partners super chats for almost $200, $199.99.
No
AOH.
No way.
Yep.
Wow.
But I think it's directed towards Scalp, but still, you got it. Says, I've only seen the first hour of the Gill debate. Is there one of the 6 hours where I can go to watch Scap hammer home all of the Hall of Fame help LeBron's been carried with, where Gill actually responds to it? I saw it briefly mentioned in year one, but Gill dodged it entirely. Congrats, Scap.
Yeah, I'm going to take apart that of the 6 hours, it's really maybe like 2.5 to 3 hours of just me and Gill one-on-one. So I'm gonna put large segments of that up this week with me kind of in a reactionary mode, like kind of just watching, and I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to add some context because there's a lot of stuff that was said throughout the course of that debate that I actually could not fact check that I really want to drill in on, including I was able to locate per 100 possession on-offs with Kobe and Shaq in the 2001-2002 playoffs. Kobe was better without Shaq in everything. So I just wanted, because a lot of Gilbert's fundamental stance there was, the floor was so open for Kobe because Shaq was commanding all of the attention, blah, blah, blah. Kobe was better with Shaq off the floor. So I want to talk about that. And then the other thing that came up that was talked about a lot on there was Jokic is the best player, but Jamal Murray takes all the fourth quarter shots, is the clutch player. I try to get, because I go into these debates with nothing. I don't look, I don't fact check, I don't have computers up, cell phone. These two, FYF and Gilbert, are literally sit there with their computers up, trying to come up with ways to thwart me. They couldn't, but for 3 hours they couldn't. But what they could do is lie on some things that I couldn't check at the time. So I went and looked at Jamal Murray's in the clutch time this year, Jokic absolutely dwarfs Jamal Murray in clutch time stats this year. I looked for the 2023 title run, the entirety of the playoffs in 2023 when they won. Again, Jokic, more points in clutch, shot more times in clutch. Like it's a losing narrative. So there are several things that I want to go back in and dig into now that I could look at a computer like they were the whole time and talk about more directly. So yeah, you guys can all look for, I'm going to probably put 4 or 5 videos up, hopefully this week, 25, whatever, 20 to 30 minute videos talking about the debate with Gilbert and I.
Awesome stuff. Had another super chat come in from Cash for $9.99.
Thank you, Cash, or AOH, if you are one and the same.
Says not a burner.
Cash has been a longtime supporter, so don't abuse him with abusing me.
His alter ego.
Still
but
nobody.
Oh, wow. I put the call-in link on my channel too, so I just don't think anyone wants to call in.
Somebody briefly tried calling in with KBFL. I don't know if it was Kwame Brown or I don't know.
Oh God, everybody strap in for 4 hours.
Yeah, but yeah, Nick's what was I going to say? I saw a funny one in here by somebody. Oh, here it is. It'll let me click it. Steam Engine says, I have 12 kids, vacation with partners.
I forgot I put that in there.
That's funny.
I forgot I put that in there.
Wow.
That's not true. That's not true. It's 11 kids.
Okay. Oh.
Maybe exaggerated by 1. That's funny.
I have 13. No. But
that's funny.
But yeah, I guess nobody's calling in, so I guess let's start shutting this thing down. Nick, what do you got to say to the people?
Nothing. Enjoyed it as always. Big support here at the end. It's always nice to see. We enjoy the viewers. You guys make all this possible. So thank you. That's all I got to say.
Speem, what do you have to say before you go back to your 12 kids?
Again, thank you for all the attention. Somebody said I look tired and washed out. I took that as praise. So it's only going to get worse. Thank you, everybody. Oh, and again, I know it's like a scap slurp fest or whatever, but he held it down. It was incredibly impressive. Again, I gotta just keep giving him props.
You gotta pause that. You gotta pause.
Yo, well, I don't want to get this thing demonetized by making jokes of that nature. Who got? But again, yeah, no, Scap held it down. He was ganged up on. I'd never quite seen anything like it, and dude deserves his props.
I was gonna say that's not a pause situation. That's just a straight up statement that you said.
I don't think we need to go through the nuances and the levels of where we could take that.
Yeah. Hoop guy, what do you got to say to the people?
Hey, it's always great to have you guys engaging in the comments, offering suggestions. You know that it kind of, it's thought provoking. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Just as much as I appreciate engaging with you gentlemen as well. I always take away something like, hey man, he said something right there. Let me write this down. Like I want to keep that in my mind's eye. Dart, I have one quick proposal. With all due respects to the channel, since Kwame did the instant reaction on Scap, Scap, I was gonna see if you could possibly get Kwame on the show. I would love to just have a nice little combo with him, because I see that he's not one of the chosen ones, and he speaks so freely. I would just like to talk to him, just one of these particular days, if you're in communication with him. Like I said, Dart, if that's okay with you.
Can I cut in real quick before I forget? Also, the joke that got me banned out of that chat, that was not homophobic in nature. I was simply saying that the gentleman from All the Smoke may have been pleasuring themselves to the podcast. Never mind. That's it. That's all I was saying.
So it was themselves, not each other. So yeah, that seems fine. That seems totally fine. Yeah.
Right. If anything, it's homophobic to assume I thought it was wrong. So there you go.
I reached out to Kwame on his website for me just to talk on my side, Hoop God.
Yeah.
I know you weren't directing it, but I've tried
Oh, okay.
a couple of days ago. But,
Okay.
But yeah, he hasn't gotten back to me. And Cash asks, Dart, are you not monetized? Yes, I was demonetized.
So,
yeah.
Dart, is that why I can't super chat any of these guys since they're running from your platform? Like, I can't super chat anybody?
No, well, you can super chat Nick. Nick can get super chatted on his channel.
Oh,
AOH, if you
Thanks
really
so
want
much
to
for your
super
terrible
chat
takes,
us,
Nick.
just go to a random video and super chat us.
Go where? Go where?
Some people
Super
may not be
thanks.
monetized yet.
Yeah.
On their channel is probably why. If they don't have that super chat sticker in their chat at the bottom of their chat, it probably means they're not monetized yet.
Yeah. Anyway, you got something for the people?
Well, thank you to all the people that did give super chats today. I'm very thankful for the ones that came through to me. Thank you, Scat, for coming on Friday after suffering through Gil and FYF on a Thursday. Yeah, it was a good discussion today. I think somebody wants to do a Duncan versus Kobe should be ranked higher debate in the future.
Oh, we already did that.
On here? Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
we did a who's better, Duncan versus Kobe, and I got ganged up on the entire time.
Oh.
I remember vividly.
That did happen. I was part of that.
But I'm still right, but that's besides the point. No, but yeah, is that I mean, I'm okay with revisiting it. I would just like somebody to be on my side.
Look, the
But-
thing is, I think it's hard because my top 5 all time is Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, Duncan, and Hakeem. So I've got Kobe at 2 and Duncan at 4. Like it's not, like I don't want to just come on here and trash Tim Duncan. You know, I think very highly of Tim Duncan. I have Tim Duncan very high. So it's hard for that's a difficult debate for me to do, honestly. I can and I would explain again why I give Kobe the edge, but I think Duncan is another one of these guys who's probably at this point gotten to be a little underrated, I think.
I think we could do a Magic versus Kareem since we do something separate. Yeah.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Do people not
yeah,
have Duncan in their top 10? I'm confused because that's the way this
Gilbert didn't. When I was talking in the
I
debate
missed
with
that.
Gil, he said
Wow.
I actually got him to admit that. He's like, I probably have to revisit my ranking on Duncan because I don't have him top 10.
Oh, wow.
That's
Wow. Wow.
I don't even know how you can.
Surely it's not because he spanked LeBron on 2 occasions. Surely not. Surely not.
Well, Duncan is not in my top 10 greatest. I think he's one of the best, but I think
Here
that
we go.
guys like Kobe are greater. But I won't go down that rabbit hole. I've done probably about 15 shows on this.
What's the difference between greatest, first, best, Dart? I don't understand. Can you explain?
Watch one of my many shows. I got 3-hour live streams. Scap, what do you have to say for the people?
Thanks for coming out, guys. Again, sorry I didn't have this link to my channel. Thank you. Appreciate anyone that came here. I know AOH was running most of his burner accounts in the comments section, but thank you to everybody else other than AOH who was in the comments today. And thank you guys, the panel. As always, great being here whenever I can. And good luck to everybody today. In week 18 of the NFL, we have some pretty luscious and tasty games on today. A couple in effect playoff games.
Pause. Go ahead.
A couple playoff games in the mix. Obviously, Hoop God wouldn't know anything about that with his Hoop Dallas Cowboys, but a lot of other people with real teams have a lot of stuff at stake today. So good luck to everybody.
Yeah. Again, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the entire panel for coming on here as well. Thank everyone in the chat. Everyone who super chatted. We had Uncut Hoops in here. I think there's one more super chat that came in actually. Yeah, just so we can get it. Norse Mustang says, I think Bill Russell and Sam Jones were a great duo because Russell carried the defense and Jones, for the most part, carried the offense. Yeah, I mean, I guess at some points, he was a good scorer. I think I would pick Havlicek over him in respect to that, or Kuzi and Havlicek. But Jones had a couple years where I believe he led the team in scoring. But still, point taken.
Hey, Norris Mustang, you know Bill Russell was the one assisting him on that scoring load. You know, just want to throw that in there.
All right. But yeah, thank you, everyone. And Michael Jordan fans are the best.